Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Warning Stunning 7156 from the Am I the Arsehole? Would I be the Arsehole public subreddit, and says, Am I the Arsehole for leaving my boyfriend's birthday dinner after his mum took my seat? I, 25 female, have been dating my boyfriend Matt, 27 male, for almost 2 years. His family is very close, and his mum in particular has always been a little possessive. I've tried not to make a big deal out of it, but it's clear she doesn't like that I take up his time. And she's made passive-aggressive comments like, I hope I don't lose my son to some girl, even though we've been together for a while and I've made every effort to be kind and respectful to her. Anyway, last weekend was Matt's birthday. He invited me to dinner with his family at a nice restaurant. I dressed up, got him a gift I knew he'd love, and was honestly looking forward to the night. When we arrived, I noticed his mum had saved the seat right next to him for herself. That's fine, whatever. I sat on his other side. But right before we ordered, his mum made a joke about how I always need to be next to Matt and said, let's see how you handle a little separation. Then she literally stood up, looked at me and said, Scooch, sweetie, motioning for me to move down a seat so she could sit between us. Everyone at the table laughed, Matt included. I was so stunned I just quietly got up and moved. For about 5 minutes I sat there feeling small and humiliated while she leaned over Matt like he was her date. So I stood up, grabbed my bag and said, actually I think I'm gonna head out. Hope you have a great birthday, Matt. And I left. Matt blew up my phone later saying I completely overreacted, embarrassed him in front of his family, and can't take a joke. His mum texted me, sorry you were so sensitive message, which just made it worse. Now he's not speaking to me until I apologize. I honestly feel like they were the rude ones, but it was his birthday dinner, so now I'm second guessing everything. Am I the arsehole? So his mum's already given off those I'm the only woman in his life vibes, the passive aggressive comments, being territorial, all the usual shit that we see, right? And then she comes up with a classic non-apology afterwards, the sorry that you were sensitive about the situation rather than her shitty behavior. And again, it's one of those situations where you seriously have to take a step back and just think, do you want to be in a relationship where you're competing with his mum and he won't stand up for you? I mean, he criticized you. But a commenter called Bodacious Vermin says, sorry you were sensitive, quoting that of course, says it all, at least to me. She didn't acknowledge doing anything wrong. It's too bad that your boyfriend isn't looking out for you in this. Opie replies saying, yeah, it's actually crazy. He still hasn't spoken to me and it's been like 2 days. So I'm just going to drop his things off at his house and that's the end of this relationship. Mermaid says, not the arsehole. Have you ever talked to your boyfriend about his mother's behavior? If not, then he may see this pettiness on her part as a one-off. However, that doesn't fully excuse his reaction. Don't apologize to anyone. If you want to keep seeing your boyfriend, then talk to him about his mother. If he's receptive at all, then it might be worth working things out. If he refuses to hear or accept anything about his mother's behavior, then you might reconsider this relationship. Opie says, yeah, it's been a history of her doing petty stuff like this. So then Opie did come in with a quick update and says, I dropped this stuff off and he tried to have a talk with me and he was basically saying, oh, his mum didn't mean any harm with a joke and telling me to chill it out and that I'm being dramatic. I told him to go date his mum since she is perfect and you'll understand each other's humor. Ooh, cheeky, and I like it. And I can only think about what his future relationships are going to look like if he's willing to put up with his mum's behavior. Surely this is going to happen in every relationship until someone accepts that shitty behavior, which is just worrying, isn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Maybe you saw another solution to the situation? Maybe. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Distinct Constant 549 and says, Am I the arsehole here for telling my father the only way I could visit him while he convalesced was if he paid for the time I would need to take off work. When I was a kid, my dad was a workaholic. We never lacked anything in my childhood home except his time and attention. He kept saying one thing over and over, who's going to pay the bills if I don't work? My dad leased a new Mercedes every few years. Our home had a heated indoor pool. We had a housekeeper. There were places in the budget for him to cut back. When I was hospitalized at 16, when I got hit by a car, he came the first night and then I didn't see him again until I was released. When my older sister got married, he only showed up for the ceremony and reception. Nothing else, and he caused problems. I grew up knowing that I would never treat my kids that way, and I've lived up to that standard I set for myself. I use all my PTO every year. I watch my kids play sports. I spend time with my wife. They are my priority, not my job. My dad recently had a heart attack. He's fine, but he's all alone. My mum had enough of his shit a while back and moved to Portugal. So he has a big house and a nurse. He wants me to come see him. I could, but that would mean using my PTO on him instead of my family. So I told him that he would need to cover my salary if he wanted a visit. I told him no one would pay my bills if I took time out to go see him. He got really angry at me and said I was being a money grubbing or is it grabbing asshole, and that isn't how he raised me. I pointed out that is exactly how I was raised. I started pointing out all the times he chose his job over his family. I reminded him why mum left. He hung up after I brought up my sister having to wait for him to be done a business call before he walked her down the aisle. My wife thinks I'm being harsh with a lonely old man. I don't really need his money. I have a great job and my boss would approve of my extra PTO without question. I just have better things to do. I think I'll eventually cave, but right now I just want him to understand what he created. So the editor of this post put together some comments, some that were from the "You're the arsehole" section because there was a bit of a mix, but the majority was not the arsehole. So Surprise came in, who was downvoted and said "You're the arsehole," but that doesn't necessarily mean you are wrong. You've decided making a point about how him prioritizing work means more than going to see him. How will you feel about that if he dies? Opie responded saying, "When I called him from the hospital, he said he wasn't a doctor and his presence would not help me. I don't mind keep him from dying." Another commenter says, "More curious why he wants you to visit him. He never cared about you in your life this far. Is he hoping you'll drop everything and move to look after him? Or has the penny finally dropped, but instead he still won't come to visit you when he's well enough?" Opie says he can afford a private nursing service. A commenter who was downvoted says, "Yeah, I hate these one-sided bullshit stories. You sound like a petty, ungrateful asshole to me. Boo-hoo, my dad worked and provided me a comfortable life. Some people were killed to be raised like you were. I hope you were cut out the will." Opie says, "I have more money than him. He worked that much to earn so much less than I do." Cherry Girl says, "Not the arsehole here. Are you all missing the fact that Opie's father literally had his own daughter put her wedding on pause so he could finish a business call, and you all want to sit there and say that this man was working for his family? No, he was working to stay away. There is a difference. Very clearly, he made the money he needed to provide his children with that life. Enough money that he could have been genuinely present, and he chose not to be. Remember that Opie's mum was sick of this man's shit and booked it. My father is a workaholic, always has been. It comes from his parents, older generation, etc. But the thing is, he has 5 children. 5 of us. He's always made the time. Every play, he was there. Graduation, soccer games, hospital visits. He had been working for over 60 hours when I overdosed, and you know what he did? He showed up. Even when he went to Puerto Rico and Disneyland, that man worked. He is and always has been working, but I've never been made to feel like I, my father's child, came second to his job. You all are grasping at the fact that OP had more than average growing up, more than just the needs. So did I, and it doesn't excuse the lack of being a real parent. Nothing does. We all make choices we can live with, but that doesn't mean we have to live by the choices others make." And one more comment from Toad Wart, who says, "Not the arsehole. You are the monster he created. Kudos for making your family the priority, even though that was not your experience." And Baba Yaga replies saying, "Cats in the Cradle is a song that reminds me of my childhood, 100%. Now he's old and sick and doesn't understand why I won't drive 4 hours to visit." So after 2 months, OP comes in with their final update and says, "I went to see him. Not for him, for me. I decided that I wasn't going to treat him like he treated me and my sister. He's old. A heart attack knocked him on his ass physically and emotionally. I didn't feel any connection to him. He thanked me for coming and I said it was nothing. He asked me why I didn't bring my family. I said they were working or in school. It was all very polite and clinical. I said he was welcome to visit us when he got better. He tried to get me to stay longer. I said I had to work. That isn't the same as him. I made the effort to be there for him. I took time off to see him. Anyways, Sorry if this is anticlimactic. There was no cutting him off or a huge fight. It was just me seeing him for what he is and deciding that any more effort for this relationship has to come from him. I have a sister, a mum, and a family of my own. He isn't really important to me on any meaningful way. I might bring the kids to see him this summer if that is something they want. Thanks for helping me get my head straight. And a commenter said to OP on the back of this one, gosh, I'm super early. Well, as long as you're doing this for yourself, it's all good. It sounds like bringing the kids into this is unnecessary. I guess unless they want to see him. Yes, emphasis on the more effort from him if this relationship continues. Best of luck to you. OP says they don't really know him. He has not been a part of my life in years. Royal Ad replies saying, it is still nice to have the chance to meet relatives. It should go without saying that that means if the experience isn't going to be negative. I'm sure it's not everyone who feels this way, but I know if my parents gave me the opportunity to meet an estranged grandpa, I'd want to, but if it felt to me that they'd rather not, I'd fib and say no. Another commenter says, he's only seeing what his actions led to now, and should feel simply grateful that you found spare time to visit him. If he wants more, he has to do it all on his part in making it happen. Sad this is the route that leads to when a person chooses work over their family. An ugly mate says your conscience is clear. You did the right thing for you. Because of his actions, any relationship you have with your dad is now on your terms. You handled it perfectly. Well done. And it will certainly be interesting if the father does make an effort in the future to try and visit them if his health recovers. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Really Suspecting 8888 from the Relationships subreddit and says, I, 28 female, suspect my fiance, 29 male, of 8 years is cheating on me. The wedding is in 4 months. I don't even know where to start. My fiance and I have been together for 8 years now. Last year, he proposed to me and we've been planning our wedding since. 2 years ago, I got a job offer, dream job, from a company in Singapore. My fiance, boyfriend at the time, urged me to take it. We both quit our jobs in Canada and moved to Singapore. He found work for himself 5 months later. He worked for a company that's predominantly women, which never bothered me until recently. Everything seemed great when we moved here, up until earlier this year. He's seemingly distant from me. We don't chat as much as we used to. He's always just on his phone now, and we're not as intimate as we used to be. He's never really in the mood anymore. I didn't really think much of it. I thought he was just going through a funk. Well, in the last 2 months, he has started staying at work late once or twice a week. It's weird because he's never had to stay late before, and now it's a regular thing. I called his office number the other night and there was no answer. I called his cell and there was no answer. When he got home, he just said he didn't notice the calls. Something happened today that prompted me to write this post. I came home after work and he was already home talking on the phone with someone. When he realized I was home, he said, I gotta go, or something like that. When I asked him who it was, he just said it was work related. Later in the evening, I looked at his phone and there was no calls logged around that time. He deleted the call from earlier. Our wedding is in March. Our friends and family are flying from all over to be with us. Reddit, are these signs of cheating, or can it be something else? One thing to note, he religiously writes in his journal. He always has since we've met. It used to be a hard journal. Now he writes it in the journal app on his phone. Given the circumstances, do I have the right to snoop through his journal? If he's done something, I'm almost certain he's written it down. But it's something so dear to his heart. It would feel very wrong for me to violate that. Now there's a lot of red flags in one situation, right? If it was just one of these things, you might be able to just write it off as one of those things. But the fact that the sudden late nights, the not answering calls, the deleting call logs, the acting weird on the phone, like I said, any one alone might be explainable, but all of them together, right before your wedding, concerning, right? I'm not even sure I'd even bother with a journal at this point and just have a direct conversation to his face, serious conversation, and be ready to postpone or cancel the wedding if his answers are not adding up. It's quite that simple. But Betty Betsy says, if you have a concern and feel like you can't just ask your fiance, that's a sign you should stop and reassess the relationship. Opie says you're right. You're absolutely right. We're actually really upfront and honest with each other and chat about our feelings a lot, except this year he rarely tells me anything anymore. When I ask him about his mood, he just says he's tired or he's had a long day. Here's the thing, I don't want to straight up ask him if he's cheating. He's a very smart and careful person, and I'm afraid if I tip him off of my suspicion, he'll delete everything and hide his tracks even better. I know reading his journal would be wrong. I just want to find out more without tipping him off. Jasper says, right now you don't have any evidence. If you raise any of your suspicions, he will just be even better at protecting himself. If you do snoop and find nothing, then you are totally in the wrong. If you snoop and find something, then you're somewhat still wrong but validated. It's a sticky situation. From what you wrote, there are several red flags here. The deleting of the phone call is one. It could be a surprise or a secret for the wedding, but he would have no reason to delete it unless he imagines you are already snooping or he's covering his tracks. Trust, but verify. If it is starting to get to you, then snoop, but think about it beforehand. Any talk you have right now will be met straight with denial, and you will never know because he will either be telling the truth or become much better about covering his tracks. One of the days he works late, why don't you go by his employment? Unless of course the late days are random and you don't know until he's already past the time to come home. I get missing a cell phone call at work, but the work number should be harder to miss. At least with the most office phones, they have built-in logs and even flashing lights when a call has been missed. Opie says, I forgot to mention, I did go by the office one day 2 weeks ago. He wasn't there. When I asked him, he said he had to visit a site, that I should call him before dropping by so that I wouldn't be wasting my time if he was out. A commenter says, don't read his journal. Ask him. Talk. Communicate. If you're desperate to find the truth, tell him how you feel and see what happens. Tell him his actions make you question everything. His reaction will tell you what you need to know. Jasper replies to that saying, I'm big on communication as well. However, if he is cheating, then he could deny the whole thing. He'd become much better about hiding it, and any remote chance OP has of finding the truth will forever be gone because he jumped the gun and raised his defenses. The original commenter replies to that saying, they've been together for 8 years. I think she should be able to gauge the truth of things based on his response. He may not admit a damn thing, but after 8 years, she will know if his response indicates shadiness. Opie responded saying, that's the thing. I am afraid he'll become much better about hiding it if I bring it up. It's true, we've been together 8 years. But as well as I know him, he knows me just as well. He's a very good excuse maker and has crazy good poker face. But you are right, communication should be first and foremost. I just feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. OP some point later comes in with a final update and says, thanks for everyone who took their time to comment or message. I read them all and weighed all my options and decided it'd be best to try and trap him in a lie. Sorry for the wall of text, a lot happened tonight. So I'm going to give him a name to make this easier. Let's say it's Gary. So earlier tonight he said he had to stay at work late. I told him it's no problem and I'll be baking at home all night anyways. I went to his office about an hour after his call and called him. He didn't pick up. Then I called his office number. No answer as well. I waited in the lobby and saw one of his co-workers coming out of the elevator. I asked her if she had seen Gary in the office, but I had something to drop off for him. She said she didn't see him. Then I asked if she could scan me in so I could drop it off at his desk. She kindly let me up, scanned me in, and then left. I went to his office and he wasn't there. In fact, there was only one other person in the entire office. I called again and he didn't answer, so I went home. When I got home, I whipped up some cookie dough and popped it in the oven. He got home at around 8 PM and complimented me how nice the house smelled. I told him I had been home baking for the last few hours. I asked him how work was, and he told me some story about accounting discrepancies or whatever. Here's how the conversation went. I said, poor sweetie, you seem tired. You were running around off-site again all day. He said, no, not today. I was pretty much in the office at my desk all day. My eyes are so strained. I said, I couldn't find the chocolate chip earlier. I called your cell and your office. How come you didn't pick up? He said, sorry about that. I must have been in the washroom and left my phone at my desk. I didn't even realize I had missed calls. And he pulls out his phone, looks at the notification on Snap. 2 missed calls. No idea how I didn't see that. Did you end up finding the chocolate chip okay? Then I snapped. I told him that I was actually at his office at the exact time he said he was in the washroom with his phone at his desk. I told him how I went to his office and everything. Also, his office lights were off, so I knew he wasn't just away from his desk. Then I could see the worry set over his face. I got him. He tried to make up an on-the-spot excuse about how he went to his sister's office and I wasn't having any of it. I wanted to know what was happening and I wanted to know now. Then he sat me down and said he could explain everything. He said that since moving here, all we ever do is spend time together. We haven't made any friends here, and every night, every weekend, all we ever do is spend time with each other, and all he's been wanting was some time alone. So a couple of times a week, he'd go get a drink at a Clark Key or walk around the city exploring new things. He said that he didn't want to tell me that he wanted some alone time because he thought it would hurt my feelings. I told him I believed him, even though I wasn't convinced. I told him we're about to spend the rest of our lives together and we should love and trust each other fully and never feel like we should hide anything from one another. He said he agreed 100%. Then the conversation went like this. I said, but the truth is, you've been lying to me and it hurts. I want you to do one thing for me so I can trust you again. He said, I know, I'm sorry, anything babe. I said, let me read 2 pages from your journal, one from each of the times you had to work late. The worry and panic started to set over his face again. He said, no, absolutely not, that his journal is too private to share even to me. Then we argued back and forth for about 10 minutes. Then I gave him an ultimatum. Read me those 2 pages or we're through, as I will never be able to trust him. Then his eyes started to water and tears started to run down his face. He begged me to just trust him, that I'm the only one he's ever wanted to be with. I gave him one last chance, at which point he said, I'm afraid of how you will see me when you read those pages. At this point I was convinced he was having an affair. I told him that we're through and the wedding is off. I started to make my way for the door, at which time he handed me the phone and said the password is 6248, but I can't be here when you read it. Then he left the house. I'm not going to go into too much detail of what I read, but I'm ashamed to admit that I read way more than I should have. Reddit, my fiance is suffering from depression. He's been depressed since we moved away from home. He hates his job and he doesn't have anything in common with the people he works with. Back at home, his co-workers and him, we're pretty much a tight-knit family. I will share one line that's in there. It's been so many years since I felt this hollow emptiness. I thought I was done with it, but in a way, it's comforting to be depressed again. I no longer have to fear my happy days will run out. At least now I know I'll feel tomorrow. He also wrote that he was 100% convinced that I would leave him if he didn't get his depression figured out. But I did find out what he's been doing after work. He's been going to therapy once a week after work. I waited for him for a few hours and he still hadn't come home. I couldn't call him because I had his phone. I decided to call his sister. They're super close, and explained the situation. She said she knew. They've been chatting quite a bit lately. I couldn't understand why he didn't trust me enough to come to me with it. She then explained to me that he's had depression on and off since high school. When he was 17, he came out to his family about his depression. Their mum and dad didn't understand, just told him to cheer up. He lost his girlfriend and some close friends. Only his sister was there for him. Then when it came back in his early 20s, he told his then girlfriend that his depression had come back, looked to her for support. She dumped him shortly after. Then he met me a year later. His sister said that he hasn't felt depressed in 7 years and he thought he was finally going to live a happy life. But with losing his job, family and close friends in the last 2 years, it came back hard. His sister said he doesn't just think you'll leave him if you found out. He knows it. There's no doubt in his mind that you'll leave him when you find out that he's a depressed freak. His words, not hers. I kinda lost it at this point. I told her I'd call her back when I found him, and I promised her that I'm planning to marry this man, and whatever he is dealing with, we'll deal with it together. He's my forever. This broke my heart. He must have felt so alone. I hate myself. I hate all the people that hurt him in the past to make him feel like a freak for having depression. I've never had to feel depression, but I understand it. I want to be there for him. It's 1:23 a.m. and he's still not home. He must think I'm half back to leave him for good. What do I do? I'm sorry for the wall of text, it's been a complicated night. The first commenter says, and they're going to be mentioned in the next update, and says, well, happy/sad update is right. I feel bad for both of you. But OP, the guy's depressed and convinced you'll leave him. You may want to call the non-emergency police line and ask them for help finding him. He should not be alone right now. Another one says, first things first, you need to apologize to him when he comes home. Do not berate him for not talking to you. You need to lay out the distance, the late nights at work, etc., and explain that you were concerned he was cheating, and that you know it does not really excuse the ultimatum, but he has to understand how his behavior looked to you. Help him find things to do outside of the two of you as a couple. Help him find friends. He needs to find joy in life again, but he needs to find that outside of you. Understand that you can support him to a certain extent, but you cannot really help him through this at all. He's likely to feel incredibly vulnerable right now. I'd ask him if he wants to talk, but it seems unlikely he will. In fact, given the situation and his history, he may withdraw even further at this point. He may even lash out and become self-destructive. If you've never had to feel depression, you do not understand it. Do not cling to. You will only isolate him further. Talk to his sister, since she obviously knows what's going on. Discuss with her how best to support him. And one more says hiding his depression from you wouldn't make things better. Go leave him a note on his desk at work telling him that he doesn't have to go through this alone and that you are there for him. Leave a note at home saying that the same thing in case he comes back while you're leaving the other note. Depression is a monster. There are things people can try to get out of it, but it's easier to do it with someone than alone. Just let him know that you are still and always will be there. That's when OP came in with a quick update starting at 3:30 AM local time. I called the police. They said to call back if he doesn't show up in 24 hours. I explained that he might be at risk, and they just reiterated 24 hours. I called his phone and it rang in my hand. I'm an idiot. I called his sister, but she hadn't heard from him yet. I called the credit card company and there was an authorization at a hotel downtown. I took a cab straight down there, asked for the front desk for his room number, but they don't give out that information. So I called his room and passed me the phone. No answer. They called again and he picked up the second time and pretty much said, "It's me. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I love you. Please let me up. We don't need to talk it out or talk at all. I just want to be beside you." At which point he informed me the front desk that I can be added to the room and they gave me a key card. When he opened the door, I just lunged and hugged him. He held me for what must have been the longest hug of my life. Then he asked if we're going home now. I said jokingly, "Fuck that, we paid for the night," and we both laughed. He said that he's sorry. Then we apologized back and forth. He's in the shower now. He said he was about to hop in before I called. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for a quick update since I won't be on my phone for the rest of the night. I quickly glanced at some of the replies and I'm sorry to those who I let down by reading further into his journal than I should have. I'm quite ashamed of myself, but at the same time, I was running on pure emotion. And a quick thank you to the user, Silver Falcon, and those who suggested I find him ASAP. If not for you, I would have just thought to give him space and probably waited it out overnight. Instead, we are now both at a nice hotel for the night. And like one of the commenters said, a sad but happy ending at the same time. It's incredibly sad that he's going through that. And the part that really got to me is how much his past actually shaped this. The dude learned over and over that opening up equals abandonment. So, of course, he shut down. Doesn't make it okay, but it makes it understandable, right? Clearly, there was a lot more work for them to do in their relationship, trusting each other with mental health stuff and all that kind of thing. And finding some happiness in that guy's life, because it's not going to change till we get to that point, right? But I really hope that they do or did get to that point. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being there today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.